Alright, this time we are reacting to most controversial and disturbing video games. Let's by Porder. Let's do it.
A little tool for escapism every now and then. But what happens when these games go against the grain of your classic big box store release, and instead lead us to explore the dark, often less spoken about corners of what humanity's actually capable of? Well, are you ever in luck? Because that's what we're going to be looking into today. In my hands, right now, I've got some of the most controversial video games to ever grace consoles and PCs. These controversies range from light and funny mishaps that are rated E for everyone, to some more AO rated controversies that are so bad even just having these games in your possession could be a criminal offense in some countries. So whatever you're doing, stop it right now. Pull up a seat, get your cream corn, get your glass of milk, and let's dive into the weird world of video game controversies. But we're not just gonna dive into like the most utterly unspeakable, vile, disgusting controversies off the bat, so don't worry about that. As the video goes on, these entries will get a lot worse. Like, a lot. So make sure you watch the whole way through. But with all that being said, strap in, because we're starting off this video with one of the most interesting controversies to ever happen in the world of gaming. The recall of Mario Party 8. Okay, so come on. Go ahead and name one thing better than getting together with all your friends and family and having a Monopoly level breakdown, eventually leading to everyone leaving at the end of the night extremely upset and disappointed with each other because Darren got a star when I should have been the one who got the star because I deserved it and he didn't grind like I did. Sorry about that. Anyways, I mean, things could be worse. This option could be taken away from us, entirely. And that modern horror did become a reality. I mean, that's exactly what happened to Mario Party 8 enthusiasts in the United Kingdom. Upon the release of Mario Party on July 13th, 2007, Mario Party was immediately recalled. In a press release, Nintendo gave a very vague statement saying that a small number of games contained the wrong version of the disc. But that was just a blatant fucking lie to try and get these games back without the real issue coming to surface. However, a European retailer confirmed that the game was actually withdrawn from shelves due to an offensive slur being used as a part of a magic spell cast by the Magic Koopas in the board Shy Guy's Perplex Express, where the Magic Koopa says, "Turn the train redacted," because the word spastic has a highly negative connotation in the UK. This game was declared banned and immediately recalled. Mario Party 8 was then eventually
Gotta figure it out. What does spastic mean? Hey, you been slow today. Alright. Spastic. Relating to or affected by muscle spasm. Okay. However, the word began to be used as an insult and became a term of abuse to imply stupidity or physical ineptness. A person who was uncoordinated or incompetent or a fool. It's not even that serious of like a thing. Like, people call people stupid all the time. So to have a game recalled for basically calling people stupid, let's see, what is it? Yeah, an incompetent person. Offensive slang. Maybe, I guess it's like calling someone the B word. I don't know. I just think they kind of overreacted. I'm gonna be honest.
re-released on August 3rd, 2007. With the offensive statement altered, European copies use the word erratic instead of spastic, and American copies use a completely different statement entirely. Oh baby, is this next entry a good one? Hatred. If being a nihilistic Reddit atheist came to video game form, it would have to be the game Hatred. Hatred was released June 1st, 2015. Maybe 2015 was a different time, I don't know. But the entire concept of this game just seems so surface level. Like, I could go on my Twitter and see all this nihilism and hatred for free. I just don't get it. But anyways, the game sees you playing as a 2000s pop-punk lead singer with a simple hatred for everything in the world. The main objective being to run around town and kill as many civilians and police officers as possible. Not with any real story or like deeper purpose. Hatred was posted to Steam's Greenlight service, where users could vote for it to come to the store or not. But due to some internal error, was quickly removed due to its extreme levels of violence. And only days later was quickly reinstated to the service. The controversy surrounding this post and delete had garnered a lot of attention, and this game actually went on to become the most voted game on the Greenlight service. And I mean, I guess it's cool if some people like the game. I read into some reviews and I sort of agree with a lot of the critics, whereas if you remove the edgy, ultra-violent layer, there's just nothing of substance at all. Just a shitty, boring game where you play as a dude who straightens his hair. But forget Hatred, we have Postal! In 1997, Postal was released. Although there are 4 games in the series, all outside of one definitely give off heavy Duke Nukem Saints Row vibes, whereas Postal 1 is arguably one of the most controversial games of all time. The gameplay has that same nihilistic Reddit atheist feel to it, but not in a corny, I'm going to straighten my hair and cry way. Sort of in like a way that's actually haunting. The story takes us inside the mind of Postal Dude, a fellow with a gun who has just been evicted, is absolutely broke, and is about to go postal, with the thought stuck in his head that the government is trying to poison him somehow. So the player, as Postal Guy, decides to go on an absolute tear and slaughter everyone in sight. This game sees you completing the same run and gun gameplay that Hatred has, but Postal was released in 1997, so I don't know, maybe it doesn't feel quite as serious and horrific as the idea actually is. To progress through the game, you are tasked with killing alleged hostiles, but you definitely have the option, and in my opinion, you're encouraged to take down harmless civilians who cross your path. As you progress through the levels, you'll be met with journal entries or quotes from the mind of Postal Dude, which although you can hardly fucking read because you're trying to decipher which pixel belongs to what word, some of them are actually quite ghastly. But while the game looks like hot ass, it's kind of funny in its own unique way. Throughout your journey to destroy all life surrounding you, the game ultimately leads you to the final stage, the elementary school. But upon going there and taking out the weapons in Postal Dude's arsenal, you'll be relieved to notice that they don't have any effect on anyone in the nearby premise. Despite Postal Dude's best efforts to let it sing, the player eventually collapses. But regardless of whether or not the bullets did damage, this was obviously controversial enough to land the development team of Postal in hot water, as many publications didn't bother to actually look into the level but instead slammed the game immediately for its representation. Which, I mean, come on, that's pretty fair. If you make a game level like this, what else would you expect? Following the events of the last level, the game ends with your character collapsing in a rather blunt and, I don't know, downright shitty ending. The entirety of the events get blamed on the modern world's demands, causing Postal Dude's mental illness, with the character ending up in an asylum. And that's it. No plot twists, no it was all a dream type of thing. No details showing the horrors of what toll these actions actually caused on the world, nor was there really any more substance outside of a mental illness plot, layered with constant messages sort of glorifying the rampage.
Sounds like Barbie.
Figured I'd put Postal and Hatred side by side on the shelf, because if you haven't caught on by now, Hatred is simply just a remake of Postal. I don't have a problem with violence in video games at all, but when presented like this, it just leaves the player feeling confused and dirty. Manhunt was released on November 19th, 2003. Out the gate, this game received negative feedback from pretty much every angle, as it was told to be one of the most gruesome and deplorable video games available at the time. It even went as far as being banned from sale in Australia, but I feel like that's not really a big deal because it seems like everything gets banned in Australia. But anyways, former Rockstar employee Jeff Williams had even gone on to speak about the atmosphere that the game created in Rockstar's development studio, saying that the dev team was on edge and generally uncomfortable while undergoing production, due to the extreme level of violence in the game. And it's always funny to see the impact these games had on the general public at the time of their release. Because, like, I get it, although the game definitely has some overtly wicked violence taking place, with, you know, current day graphics, it's just hard to acknowledge this as offensive when it looks like a modern day Android app. But this uncomfortable environment should have been the least of Rockstar North's worries, as on July 28th, 2004, this game was linked to the murder of 14-year-old Stefan Pakira by his 17-year-old friend, Warren LeBlanc. Initially, media had reported that the police found a copy of the game in the murderer's bedroom. As well, the mother of the victim stated that she believed to have heard friends of her son's saying that the murderer had been obsessed with this game prior to the incident. Warren had lured 14-year-old Stefan to a park in the local area with the idea in Stefan's mind that these two friends were going to be meeting up with a couple of girls to hang out with. However, that clearly wasn't the case. Upon arrival, Warren struck Stefan over the head from behind with a claw hammer. This specific style of attack had drawn a striking resemblance to the unforgiving nature of Manhunt. Stefan's father, Patrick, added that the way Warren committed the murder, this is how the game is set out, killing people using weapons like hammers and knives. At the time this incident took place, it perfectly aligned with the video game Rebellion. Therefore, the media coverage led to the game being removed from the shelves by vendors themselves, as well as some countries around the world just looking to outright ban the game. The Pakira family decided to sue Sony and Rockstar to the tune of £50 million in a wrongful death claim. However, on the same day that the family hired their attorney, the police officially denied any link between the game and the murder, citing drug-related robbery as the motive, and revealing that the game had actually been found in the victim's bedroom after all, not the murderer. So, following this discovery, the lawsuit was dropped. 3 years after this, Rockstar went on to release a sequel to the game, denying that Manhunt should have to bear any responsibility for the gruesome murder of Stefan Pakira. Grand Theft Auto Hot Coffee mod. While GTA has faced its fair share of controversy over the years, the Hot Coffee mod might have been the closest to seeing this game taken off shelves permanently that the franchise has ever experienced. San Andreas has to be the most defining game in the franchise, and while it simply was just controversial on the surface, what actually landed this game in so much hot water was the discovery buried inside the game's codebase. The Hot Coffee minigame can only be accessed through modding the game itself, and not in the original gameplay. However, when modded, the Hot Coffee minigame allows you to just beat the cheeks clean off your girlfriend, in an extremely weird and animated way, putting you, the player, in the driver's seat of CJ's hog, allowing you to control his movements. Before development concluded, the team at Rockstar had obviously been aware that including something of this nature would end up with the game getting an AO rating, which would essentially put the brakes on sales worldwide, at worst leading the game to be banned in several countries. To quickly remedy this situation, the minigame was hidden instead of being stripped entirely, as this was just a band-aid on the situation that held for a long time, until data miners finally got a hold of the game after it was released for the PS2, and found what was thought to be sexually explicit content in the game. At its first discovery, modders found several character animation with explicit file names that were pretty self-explanatory. Shortly after this, following the release of San Andreas to Windows, the content was confirmed, and a modder had released a patch that allowed players to access this minigame. And this mod went on to be downloaded 1 million times in the span of just 4 weeks, which in turn caused everything that Rockstar had set out to avoid. The ESRB re-evaluated San Andreas to an AO rating, and as a result, retailers such as Walmart, Target, Best Buy announced that they would immediately cease all sale of San Andreas for as long as it was rated AO. Because of this, Rockstar put out a public recall of all copies of San Andreas, and released a new version that had blocked all access to this content within the game. Taking these extra measures, Rockstar and the ESRB were able to get the rating back down to mature, so San Andreas was able to find itself back on store shelves once again. The Super Seducer series. Okay, so imagine a scenario where we took every single one of those NPC guys that just, I don't know, somehow keep seemingly spawning from Andrew Tate's massive wagon. We lock them all in a room with a PC, and we tell them, you guys can't come out until you have built a fully functional video game. Well, the result would the result would 100% be the Super Seducer series. This is essentially just a point-and-click game targeted directly at incels. I guess it's supposed to teach you how to date?
I'm really into video games, like there's one I play called Fortnite.
But a free alternative would, just be go outside, touch grass, maybe talk to someone that you're attracted to. However, while the creator of this game, Richard, talks about the game being a fantastic learning tool while still being fun, he anticipates the people who purchase this game to not only want his dating advice, but he also hopes that some men out there might buy it because it looks funny. Which, I mean, he's right. He's entirely correct. Although this game was met with a ton of negative criticism, it almost feels like Richard himself, at some point along the way, picked up on how funny the internet actually found his game.
Do you know a good masturbation location around here? No?
And was able to use it to his advantage. But in my personal experience of observing the game,
Look over there, is that a fox in those trees?
What
Have
do
a
you
look.
mean? What? Don't touch me!
all I felt was a fire fueled by anxiety that regardless of which selection I chose, I was going to end up on some sort of registry or at the bare minimum somebody's watch list. However, not taking this game as lightly, in a more literal sense, the game has come under fire for the allegations of normalizing toxic behavior towards women.
You like nuts, you said.
But the real uproar surrounding this game didn't really come until the third entry of the series, when Richard and the squad pressed for a release on Steam, which led to Valve making the decision to outright ban the release of Super Seducer 3. Despite the many attempts at finding a middle ground, it seems that Super Seducer 3 was unable to censor its more explicit scenes, and Valve declared their decision final.